the setup. Now the setup is a crucial element in the athletic golf swing in terms of creating the right positions and angles that are going to create what's called dynamic balance. Now if we're able to create this dynamic balance in the golf swing, we're going to have a free-flowing motion, free of manipulations and adjustments, which has got to be good for a good consistent ball strike. So what we're going to do in the presentation, we're going to cover each element from the ground up, each position of the setup in detail. Now we're going to start with our feet position, our width of stance, ball position and weight distribution. Now the first thing I'm going to touch upon is how my feet sit. Do they fit straight forward or are they slightly angled out? Now it's recommended that we get them slightly angled out between up to about 25 to 30 degrees. Now what this does is takes a bit of tension out of the knees and actually allows for a little bit of rotation onto the knees in the pivot motion or during the pivot motion. Now that's crucially important, especially into the left side as you rotate through impact and follow through. So having the feet out just a little bit will add a little bit of movement into that left knee or into both knees. So first, let's have a look at the driver positions, the longest club in the bag. Now as you see, these shafts here, they're demonstrating my width of stance. So in this driver position here, we'll see them at my widest point. Now that's shoulder width apart from inside heel to inside heel. So I'm nice and wide here in my driver position. Now my weight distribution with the driver. The weight distribution is more on the right than left, probably 55%, 45%. So I've got a slight tilt. Now to demonstrate that tilt position, to give you a good understanding, we do this little drill here. So if I hang it down from my sternum and just tilt back until the driver is approximately at that shaft or my left leg there, you'll see I'm on a slight tilt there. So when I've got a driver here, I'm slightly tilted back. Now this is to actually encourage you to hit up on the ball, to get a nice blow up on the ball to get that driver launched or get that ball launched out there nicely. So it's beginning to that position here, and we're in that nice tilted back position. Now ball positions of my inside left heel. Now this is the furthest forward position in the golf swing, and this again help us to launch that ball up in a more sweeping motion rather than hitting down upon it. So there we have the positions of the driver. Now let's go to a mid-iron and see the differences. Now with the mid-on, what you should see straight away is these shafts are now approximately in the middle of my feet. So I've narrowed my stance up. So the shorter the club, the narrower the stance is going to be to give us a bit more control. Now ball position also moves back slightly to under my left ear. Now we do that to make sure that we start to have that downward blow onto the ball. Ball first, ground second. So we're starting to create a nice little divot. So in that position there, and what we'll see that my feet are now, or the weight distribution is more 50-50. So we'll go into a short iron now and show you the differences there. The short irons are after a lot more control and accuracy. So with the short iron, I'm going to narrow my stance up right up here so the shafts are almost on the outside of each foot. Ball position moves to the middle of my stance. Weight distribution is more on my left side. Really encouraging a downward blow onto that ball to create a nice controlled shot. So there we have the setup positions of the feet. We have these routines, these shafts here have demonstrated the width of stance positions that we have between the long irons down to the short irons. The weight distribution does change slightly from a long iron to a short iron. And we also see that our ball position does change from club to club. Now it's going to work on the elements of the spine angle, which is one of the most crucial angles in the golf swing. What having a good spine angle does is creates a balance point for the entire swing motion. If we have this spine angle correct, we're then able to establish a good pivot motion as well as the swing plane positions themselves. So it's crucial we get it right. Now how David Ledbetter recommends we do this is by creating what we call a posture plumb line. Now this is a vertical line that goes down from outside the tricep, outside the kneecap and into the balls of the feet. Now it creates what he calls a sit tall position where the weight feels beneath you. So we've got a way of doing that. I'm going to grab a shaft and demonstrate this posture plumb line to you. So if I get set up into my posture, what we're trying to establish now is that posture plumb line that goes down nicely outside the tricep, outside the kneecap, into the balls of the foot. Once we have this, we're establishing our balance point in the golf swing. Now a good way to practice that is actually in front of a mirror. So recommend, when you're in front of a mirror or a reflective window, get set up into your posture. Then we can grab this with the left hand and just hang it from outside the tricep in our position, and you'll be able to see directly behind you if you're in the right position or not. It's a good little drill to make sure this posture plumb line is correct. Now other positions that we look for in this posture plumb line or in the spine angle is that, one, our back side is out. Our lower back is slightly flat, upper back slightly rounded, head or chin in a position where it's up so the shoulders can turn unhindered and can turn sort of perpendicular to the spine. Now what you also seen as part of that posture plumb line was that my knees were bent. Now my knees need to be bent slightly as we want to lower that centre of gravity. It's going to help to stabilise the upper torso in the golf swing. Right, so with the spine angle, it does change from club to club. So I've got a short iron here, so as I'm set up to the ball, you'll see that my spine angle is out quite a lot. But if I grab a driver, you'll see that my spine angle is actually going to decrease a little bit. So I'll show you that as well. So with the driver, when you're set up to a driver, it's more upright. Just because the longer the club, the more upright our spine angle, the shorter the club, the more our spine angle is. Now with this posture plumb line, if it changes during the golf swing, it goes from that good posture plumb line here to out towards the toes, you know you're out of balance. Same deal if it goes towards the heels, you know you're very much out of balance, which means you're going to have to make some adjustments in the golf swing, which is not what we want to do. So we have that nice posture, we've created the balance point in the golf swing. It's a crucial stage. Now what we've got to establish is how these hands and arms hang. So in this position here, you'll see that they're hanging nice and naturally from the shoulders. We don't want any tension in the arms and hands here. We want to have them nice and relaxed. Now, by creating this angle through here, through the left arm into the shaft, we actually create that nice sort of relaxed position. We never want to have it straight like that. It automatically that creates tension through my arms and into my body. So the left arm relationship with the shaft is important from this angle. What we're also going to notice, or what we can feel actually, is as our distance from ball. Now we've got to establish that we don't want to be too close or too far away. So the first one, which I've sort of touched upon before, was that a natural position under the arms. Now if we do this little drill with the right hand, bringing it back, if we don't have to go out towards the shaft, we know we're not too far away. If we come in here, we know we're too close. So it's just coming in naturally back into that position. That's telling me my hands are in a really good position. Another way is to get a bit of a feeling underneath the armpits onto my chest. Now in my position here, I can feel just a little bit onto my chest. Whereas if the ball is too close, it'd be right down to my elbow. Now if it's too far away, I can't feel any pressure onto my chest at all. So those are good ways to establish the right hand distance, or distance away from the body the club should be. So face on, there's also a couple of positions we should look at. So face on, basically we want to create a nice triangle between my forearms and my elbows. The elbows are out and up, so two lines coming out the elbows should meet approximately in the middle of my sternum. Now in this position as well, you'll see that the left arm and shaft also forms a relationship in terms that it's almost a straight line through there. Slight angle, but almost a straight line. Generally, you don't want the club to be too much on top of the club, on top of the ball, or ahead, that nice line, and that's going to be a good sort of relationship we're going to maintain in the golf swing. So there are our arm hang positions. Now we need to also establish the right alignment. Alignment's crucial. Now I've got some shafts down here which I'm going to use, which you've seen already, which I'll use to actually help us with our alignment. Thoroughly recommend that you use shafts on the ground every time you practice. The pros use it, so anybody can use it. Why we do that is because when we're over the ball, your view is actually distorted of the target. Very easy to get out of sync with your alignment. So if we use these shafts here for our feet alignment, it guarantees you're aiming at your target. Now the ball position, club face position, I'll use these two shafts here to demonstrate. We can use that to make sure their leading edge is pointing to the target. We've also got the other shaft here to help with that as well. Now obviously in the normal, when you're practicing, you probably wouldn't have these down here, so this shaft here helps you create that nice square position of the club face. Now when we're setting up to the ball, recommended that you get the club face position first, aim that at your target, and then your feet position. So just to go through exactly what we're after the feet to be pointing at target, feet, knees, hips, shoulders, and even our eye line should be parallel target line. Once you're in those positions, you know you're ready to go, you know you're ready to hit a good golf shot. So there we have the positions of the setup. We've gone through the basic positions right through from the ground up. Now once we've established all these positions, you need to come up with a good routine to make sure that you can practice these on the golf range and then put an element of it into the golf swing on the golf course. So I'm going to go through what we call the 4-step drill to give you a drill that you can go home and practice and make sure the posture is right each time. So as you stand, we can establish basically our distance from ball first. We stand nice and tall. We take the good grip that we've got, shaft in front. We're going to bend the knees slightly so we can see half of our feet there. Then we lower the club down to approximately knee height. And then we're going to tilt out, then my backside go out till the club touches the ground. That should create that sit tall position and a good posture plumb line. So that's a good wee drill we can use to make sure we get into that posture plumb line and set up positions each time. So the setup positions are important if we want to establish good positions later on. Now what I mean by that is that the setup is the first link or the first chain reaction of good positions that we need to create. If we don't have a good setup position, then we can't create a good pivot motion. If we don't have a good pivot motion, we can't really create a good link positions or good swing plane positions. So they all work together. They start with the setup. Now often if you go and you're filming someone or you have some issues with your swing plane or have some issues with your pivot motion, they generally can be traced back to the setup positions, as normally they could be causing the problem. So it's important that we establish these positions right each time, and every time it's important we have that grip right every time. If we do that, then we're able to establish what we're going to cover in the next presentations, a good pivot motion and those link positions.